Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Chapter 5, the first 5 verses, please.
Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shamsasi yachreya etayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Shri Bhagavan Sannyasah karma yogascha nishreyasakaravubhau tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate nyeyasa nitya sannyasi yo nadveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate sankhya yoga prithak balaha pravadanti na panditaha ekamapyasthitas samyak ubhayor vindate phalam yat sankhyaih prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sa pashyati.
We have 4 sessions in which time we'll be studying the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita entitled Karma Sannyasa Yoga. 29 verses, as you see on the screen here. We have the summary of the chapter. And for those who are not familiar, this summary is not found in the original text. It is part of the research done by Swamiji, and it makes it easy for any student to understand the flow of thought in the chapter. So as you see here, the chapter is divided into 4 topics. This is for convenience to understand the flow. The first topic deals with yogi, sannyasi, jnani. What it means is when a person chooses to use this lifetime to evolve, to understand the purpose of life, and to move on that path and find out the reality of life. What is that which is permanent in our lives? When we say that, we all have experiences. Everybody is living a life. But for what purpose? We achieve so many things. We have so many aspirations, ambitions. We want to achieve many things in life, and we busy ourselves throughout our lives trying to achieve those goals. All this is very fine. But what we must think, at least give it a thought, a serious thought, is whatever you achieve in this lifetime, you take nothing with you when you go. So it seems all your effort stays where it is, does not accompany you. And then one might wonder, I'm putting in so much effort, achieving so many things. I've set up a family, I've got friends. You're so engaged and involved in this life, and nothing comes with you. So what is the purpose? See, usually we are so busy living our lives, achieving whatever we want to achieve, that there's no time to think about these things. And it's only when you are struck with some tragedy or some problem or something that makes you philosophical, that's when perhaps we give it a thought. And that too, not a serious thought. So here is an opportunity for us, at least these 4 evenings, to understand there is something far more important in life than just going through the motions of life. From day to day, year by year, we are living our lives, but without a serious purpose, something that will stay with us. So what is that something that will stay with us? The only thing that you can claim and have for yourself is knowledge of the truth, nothing else. Anything else you achieve doesn't stay with you. But if you spend some time and effort and energy to seek the truth, that will never leave you. That is permanent. So whatever time and effort you spend in seeking the truth is yours. So this chapter talks about how to start that journey. So initially, a person is called a yogi who is not enamored by the world. He lives in this world, he acts in this world, he does whatever obligations he has to do. That does not change. But the only difference is he's not prepared to accept this is all. He understands, he or she understands that there is something that is permanent in life, and that being born a human being is a unique opportunity to seek and find the truth in and through your other obligations. So that's how you start the journey to the truth. That's a yogi. And when you are fairly established, you gain knowledge, you are established in that knowledge, that stage of development in a human being is referred to as sannyasi. And when you hit the 100th mark, when you reach the truth, the reality of life, the self in you, the God principle in you, that stage is called a stage of enlightenment, where you become a jnani. So these are only the different stages which are explained in the first 7 verses. And then in the second topic, as you see here, 8 to 12, talks about how the yogi, sannyasi, jnani, how do they act? How do they relate to action? Everybody's acting, but what is the difference between a yogi acting, a sannyasi acting in the same world, and a person who has reached the highest perfection? How do they relate to action? In the third topic, 13 to 19, is the state of supreme being. What is that perfect state? What is it that we have to achieve? Whether this lifetime or any lifetime. But only a human can achieve it. No other creature can ever think of achieving this highest state. So what is that state of supreme being? And finally, in the fourth topic, renunciation precedes meditation and realization. So to get to that final state, there is a lot of preparation. Now, why we are mentioning this is because today meditation is recommended for anybody and everybody. Now, we are not discussing what others are doing. We are only talking about what this authentic text is telling us about the state of meditation. Meditation, no doubt, is the gateway, the final gateway to self-realization, to a state of human perfection. But before you sit in that seat of meditation, you need to be qualified. And what is that qualification? It is that state of renunciation, a word that is often misquoted, misunderstood, and rejected for being impractical. In fact, renunciation is a state of maturity. It is not that you give up action. So when you say a person is renounced, it's not that he's given up action. He has given up all the negative aspects of action. In the 6th chapter, God willing, we'll do it next year, the very first verse describes who is a sannyasi. Who is a sannyasi? Who is a yogi? And very simply it's put, karyam karma karoti yaha, sa sannyasi cha yogi. So who is a sannyasi? Who is a yogi? You're not asked for your address. Are you in an ashram? Are you in the Himalayas? Do you wear ochre robes? Have you left your family? None of these questions are asked. But are you performing karyam karma? Karyam karma simply means, are you performing your duties and obligations, whatever they be? And that person is a yogi, is a sannyasi. So what you will find in the readings of the Gita, if you get the real message, the Bhagavad Gita is meant for one and all. It's not a retirement plan for people who have finished with their obligations in the world and now want to learn the Gita. Anybody is welcome. But it is meant for those who want to live a full life, a complete life, a sensible life, a practical life, a life of values. That is what the Bhagavad Gita tells us, how to live our lives fully, completely, and understand the very purpose of being born a human being. You know, we are told, if I'm not mistaken, and these days you can always Google it and find out the truth for yourself, there are about 1 trillion species, 1 trillion species of living beings on this planet. 1 trillion. I don't even know how many zeros that is. And of these 1 trillion species of living beings, it's only the human species, only one species, that can ever think of choosing how to live. Every other creature has to tread a beaten path, cannot change. You're born a ferocious being, a tiger, you will have to live the life of ferocity and die a ferocious being. Period. No choice. You're born as a creature that is meek and mild, you have to live that life and die that creature. You cannot change. It's just exhaustion of your vasanas, your qualities. That's all life is. But in the case of every human being, each and every human being has this unique choice. You can do anything with your life. In other words, what we're saying is, a human can be born in the worst of circumstances. You could say, look, I would never want anyone to have the life that I'm leading. Why? Everything is negative. Everything is a challenge. Every turn in life, I have to face something terrible. I never would like anyone to have this life. So you could be in circumstances that are very, very challenging. And yet, you have the choice to come out with flying colors, meaning nothing need to affect you. You could prepare yourself. That's the choice you have. Or you could be in the best of circumstances. Everything is perfectly laid out for you and make your life miserable. This is the choice a human being has. So the question is, what are the choices you are making? So when you meet people, how's life? You say, life is good or not good. Now, what we don't realize when you say that, life is good because you have made it good. Life is bad because you have made it bad. It's not somebody else who's making it for you. But you're not consciously doing it. And you do not know that you have a choice. So if you say there are challenges, you can convert that. But it is an art. It is a skill. It is a technique. You will have to learn, practice, make perfect. Now, that's something we are not aware. And here is a text that is giving us this valuable information. How to eke out happiness in any type of life. How do you find that happiness? Whoever you are, whatever your background is, no matter who or what your challenges are, Bhagavad Gita gives you a choice. Teaches you how to make right choices so that, first of all, you have to live your life, whatever life you have. And then you need to find out the purpose of human life, which is to seek and find the truth. Only then will you find satisfaction. So this preparation leads you to that state of renunciation. Thereafter, you move into the higher state. So we will be seeing as we go along. And we start with the first verse of this chapter, please.
Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shamsasi yachreya etayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Arjuna uvacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha shamsasi yachreya etayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam.
Arjuna Vacha, Arjuna said, O Krishna, you praise renunciation of action and again yoga, path of action. Tell me conclusively which of the two is better. Now, in the academy we have the luxury of time. In fact, the introduction itself we would have taken 1 full hour. But because we have just 4 sessions and we have to pack all the information that we need to gain within this time frame, can't go into the details because you have the books that will give you more information. But you must understand we are in chapter 5, which means we have traveled from chapter 1 up to this point. So there is a development of thought over the chapters. It all started with Arjuna's despondent condition, where he was confused. The commander-in-chief, a Kshatriya, was about to fight a battle. At 0 hour, he collapses because he was overwhelmed with emotion. A person who had a noble cause to fight for, not for something personal, but to bring back righteousness when there was anarchy. So there was something worthy in his action. And he was fully qualified as a prince, as a Kshatriya, to protect the interests of the people. Everything was set, the stage was set. And for some odd reason, a well-planned action couldn't take off because he collapsed at 0 hour. Why? He was overwhelmed with emotion. Without going to the details why, just that emotion prevented a well-qualified person to perform his bounden duty. Now this is something that can happen to anyone. Why talk of Arjuna? So the great sage Vyasa, he is giving a message to humanity. And what was applicable to millennia back is as applicable today and will continue to be applicable in the future because he's addressing the human. You can be a Japanese or an American or African or Indian. You're a human, first and last. And as long as you're a human, you must understand these are laws that apply to every human being. So, when we say he succumbed to emotion, the mind in us is powerful. It can cause havoc. That's the mind. It's like a child in us. It has no maturity. Even in a full grown, so-called mature adult. The mind still remains a child. It can ask for anything. It will justify. It will argue. That is the mind. But a human being is endowed with a higher equipment called the intellect, buddhi, which needs to be trained. It's not natural. And it needs to be exercised, just as if you want a fit body, you want a strong body, you will have to exercise your muscles. Keep on exercising. And then you will have physical fitness. You can't have physical fitness without exercise. I'm not going to ask, but if I were to ask each person, what is your level of physical fitness? Take a look at yourself. I've been okay, but we've crossed 40. Knee started paining. Our back is paining. Most of our problems are it is something which we have acquired. And it can easily be corrected. But who wants to put an effort? Nobody wants to put an effort. So we remain unfit physically. Something that we are seeing every day. You're seeing your body every day. You're doing everything but maintaining fitness. So if you can't see how you lack physical fitness and how you can easily change it. That's why in the academy we have jogging track, we have a gymnasium, we've got games that we play, and some of the visitors who are used to ashrams, and they come there, what sort of an ashram is this? There's so much of physical activity. If you're not physically fit, how can you train to be mentally fit? It's far more difficult, far more subtle. And we are only saying what is possible. So if each one were to ask oneself, can I be better, can I maintain better physical fitness? If the answer is yes, why aren't you doing it? Because it needs effort. Nobody wants to put in effort. You put 2 pills and will I be all right? I'll take that. But why sweat? Why hurt myself? That quality which prevents us from putting in that effort which we can easily do is tamas, lethargy, laziness, indolence, heedlessness. So that penetrates into our mental state also. That the mind, you permit the mind to take over your personality and suffer. Hanta, hanta, alas, alas. What man is made of man. When we have this great opportunity called life, you could just throw it away in unproductive channels. I'm not trying to disillusion you. I'm trying to tell you the worth of life. There's so much to achieve. Personally, we are all the time worried about what everybody else is doing wrong. What we are doing wrong, we're not even aware. And if you only turn towards yourself, you will improve, you will be happy, and what's more, you will be helpful to others. So, a Kshatriya, who ought to have fought that battle, collapsed in the very first verse. And slowly, you find that Krishna is educating Arjuna on how to perform right action. That is the flow of thought from the first chapter right up to the 4th chapter. The 3rd and 4th chapter talk about right action. And now, in the end of the 4th chapter, he talked about gaining wisdom. And that is something that we all need to do, like we're doing here now. What are we doing? We are trying to gain wisdom. We're trying to learn this knowledge. So Arjuna gets confused. That's what he shows here. You praise renunciation of action through wisdom. That was the 4th chapter. Jnana, karma, sannyasa, yoga. That was the 4th chapter. And then you're saying you should act. You should follow the path of action. Tell me conclusively which of the two is better. That's Arjuna's question. And we hear Krishna now.
श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते.
The blessed Lord said, both renunciation and yoga of action lead to supreme bliss. Remember in the summary I talked about how a yogi starts the journey and then sannyasi is established in the journey. And sannyasi doesn't mean running away from anything. Who is a sannyasi? Who is a yogi? Karyam karma karoti yaha. Person who does his obligatory duties. And then if you continue the same path, you hit the 100th mark, you gain self-realization, enlightenment. So it is one path, but different stages. So the Lord says here, both renunciation, which is a state that a sannyasi reaches, and yoga of action, a state that a yogi is engaged in, a person who has just started the journey, lead to supreme bliss. It's a description of the ultimate state, the state of self-realization, where you merge with the state of total bliss, happiness, peace. So that is the ultimate state. Now, as you move on that path, the more established you are on that path, two things will happen. You will be more peaceful because you are moving towards this ultimate state of peace and bliss, and you are active. Your actions are perfect. Very strangely, these are the two things the whole world is looking for. What is everyone looking for? Let's not talk poetry here. Let's talk practical. You tell me, what is everyone looking for in life? What are you looking for? Anybody? Only few people are talking, others are. Happiness, okay. Peace, happiness, they're synonyms. Anything else? Success. See, let's face it, let's be honest to ourselves. We are all looking for two things. One is you've got to be successful. We want prosperity. We want to be progressive, effective in the world. We all want that. At the same time, we want peace. We want happiness. We want joy, cheer. But you look around and see, and look at yourself. Have you found both? You'll say, yes, I'm happy now, but I don't know what I'll be tomorrow. Even if you claim to be happy, and I'm sure many of you are happy, whatever happiness you have today, it is dependent on something or somebody outside of you. Please examine the happiness. You say, yes, I'm very, very happy. Why? I've got a wonderful family. So your happiness is dependent upon the family. You'll turn around and say, how else can you find happiness? Because this is the only type of happiness we know. The happiness we know today is to be dependent on somebody or something. And that is not true happiness. Even if you're not able to appreciate what is being said in the Gita, you must listen to thinkers around the world. Samuel Johnson, you know what he was known for? Anybody? Who gave us the first dictionary? An Englishman. Now he says, this happiness that we are seeking is within us. I'll put it on the screen for you. The fountain of content must spring up in the mind. And he who hath so little knowledge of human nature as to seek happiness by changing anything but his own disposition will waste his life in fruitless efforts and multiply the grief he proposes to remove. Samuel Johnson. So it's not just the Gita. These thinkers around the world, they knew because they understood the truth. So that happiness that you're seeking is not outside. Changing things outside, getting better things in the world. It is changing your disposition within. That's when you find true happiness. So whatever happiness you find today is dependent on factors outside of you. That is not true happiness. It will change. So true happiness is found within, and at the same, when you say happiness, peace, joy, cheer, these are all synonyms. And at the same time, you want to be successful, prosperous, effective, in this dynamic in the world. And that is yoga of action. In fact, the 3rd chapter gives us the technique, the formula for right action. It's given out. How should one act in the world to be successful? It's given there. But then it's just knowledge. You have to translate it into your own life. That takes time. Like any art, any skill. So here he says, renunciation and yoga of action both lead to supreme bliss. But of the two, Arjuna, of the two, yoga of action is superior to renunciation of action in the case of Arjuna. See, Arjuna is a man of action. He's full of desires, like the yogi. What is the difference between a yogi and a bhogi? Bhogi is one who's attracted to the world, who cannot think of anything else but the world. From morning till night, from birth to death, it is just the world. I must get more of this, I must get more of that, I must enjoy the world. Like the great Shankara tells us in the Bhajagovindam, the two motivating forces in life, Kanchana, Kamini. Kanchana means wealth, Kamini means enjoyment. So whatever you do in life boils down to these two motivations. Why are you doing it? I must acquire this. Why are you doing this? I must enjoy this. See, this is something you should go home and think. From morning till night I'm doing. Why are you doing it? I must acquire or I must enjoy. It's just these two motivations. So people who are involved, guided by only these two motivations and nothing else, get entangled in the world. It's like quicksand. It pulls you in. You get caught up in what is called samsara. Samsara means entanglement. You can't wriggle out of that. You don't have time. People say, I'd love to come, but I have no time, no time. No time means you're entangled. You should command your time. You should be able to do what you want to do. Otherwise, what a waste. Why is the world dictating terms to you? You should be dictating terms. But if you have a higher purpose, then you'll be able to achieve it. So when you get entangled in the world, you are not able to seek anything that is higher. But when a person who is full of these aspirations and ambitions and aims in the world, but with one difference, he now understands this cannot be a finality. There's got to be something more. I'm born into this world. I know I'm going one day. And I take nothing with me. So what is the purpose? That thought is so powerful. It will set you on the path to seek the truth. That person is a yogi. He's still in the world. He's functioning in the world with a difference. He does not take this world as an end in itself, but as a means to a higher end. So this yogi has desires. For such a person, yoga of action is recommended, not renunciation, because renunciation is not something that can be practiced. Renunciation is a state of growth or maturity that you achieve when you perform right actions. So first of all, start with action. What are you doing from morning till night? What is the quality of your actions? If you attend to that, you will reach a state. The effect will be renunciation. The cause is right action. Effect is growth, maturity, renunciation. So for Arjuna, Krishna says, for you, what is superior in your state is yoga of action. So of the two, he's like a doctor giving a prescription. So if you go to a doctor, there may be 10 patients or 20 patients wanting to see the same doctor, ENT specialist. And sometimes, these doctors are so good that there's a big crowd in the clinic and you have to wait for a long time before you see the doctor. So you can't turn around and say, why am I waiting so long? One of us go into the room, meet the doctor, get a prescription, all of us follow. Are you following me? You can't do that. Why can't you do that? Because it is a prescription specially for your condition. For one person, it could be an allergy. Other person could have an infection. So it depends on what is your state. A doctor will give a prescription according to what you need. Similarly, Krishna is recommending, prescribing action for Arjuna because that is what he needs. And he says, if you perform right actions, you will reach a state of renunciation. He continues.
Yeyasa nitya sannyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate Nyeyasa nitya sannyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate.
So what is the state of sannyasa, renunciation? He said he should be known as a perpetual sannyasi who neither hates nor desires. Na dveshti, na kankshati. For free from pairs of opposites, nirdvandvaha, O Mahabaho, O Arjuna, he is easily set free from bondage. Sukham bandhat pramuchyate. So, the opposite is what we just described. The bogi who is entangled, enmeshed, caught up. He is bound to this world, unable to get out of anything, stuck. He feels helpless. I would like to do it, but that but is always there in everybody's life. I would have done so many things if I were free. If. So we believe we are helpless. We cannot achieve it. When anybody says, I do not have time, I'd love to do this, I want to do it, but I don't have time, it just means it is not your priority. That's all it means. So next time you say that, or somebody says it, you understand it's not that person's priority. But never talk to a philosopher, because you will be speaking about yourself. It'll be very clear what your interests are. A person who wants to get anything can get it, provided you understand it's important. The moment you know it's important, everything else takes second place. So, this state of sannyasa, he says, what is it? Like we said, people have their own ideas. Even as I'm talking, I do not know how many of you are really following what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. It's not our interpretation. He's putting it very clearly. Who is a sannyasi? And we believe sannyas means you must take up ochre robes, run away, go away from the house, maybe sit in the caves. We've got our own ideas. That person sannyasi. Other person cannot be. So if one sannyasi is sitting here, how can he be sitting here? There's nobody in ochre robes here. Nobody is wearing malas. Cannot be a sannyasi. That's what we We believe very firmly. Yet it's the Bhagavad Gita that is saying so. What is it saying? He should be known as a perpetual sannyasi. Who? There are certain qualities. He does not hate nor desires. He is not plagued with preferences. That's all it means. It doesn't mean you stop liking things. You may have your preferences, but you're not dependent. Unless I get that cup of coffee, my day is not complete. You are dependent on a cup of coffee. That too, it must be piping hot. If it is not piping hot, temper will be, you will be hot. That much of dependence. Yes, today's coffee is not okay, bad luck. Wife's mood is not okay, what to do? You're married her, you're living with her for so many years, suddenly mood swings are there. Put up with it, happily walk out. Today I had cold coffee, not hot coffee. Be done with it. But a coffee can set the mood for the day. That is your condition. That is what he's talking about. A person may have preferences, but you're not dependent. That's the meaning of he does not hate nor desire. He is not plagued with preferences internally. Nirdvandvaha. He is not affected by the pairs of opposites in the world. Meaning, another word for the world is dvandvas. What is this world that you're living in? Dvandvas. What do you mean dvandvas? Right and wrong, good and bad, heat and cold, joy, sorrow, pleasure, pain, honor, dishonor. This is the world. This is what every single person is meeting every day. So when you meet the world externally, it could be something you're comfortable with, it could be something you're not comfortable with. That's what the world will offer. The world will carry on. You are the one who will get left behind. You could be happy or unhappy. You could be cursing or you could be excited. So the world will carry on. It's not going to stop or pause for you. You will have to learn to adjust to the pairs of opposites that visit you. That's all he's saying. So here is a person who is internally free from these preferences, which you may have and follow. As long as it's available, why not? When the hot coffee is available, you don't have to wait, let it be cold, because I'm a sannyasi. There's no such requirement. If you prefer a hot cup of coffee and you've got it, please enjoy it. No animal can enjoy, only a human can enjoy. So Bhagavad Gita is not saying you should not enjoy. You can enjoy, but there is no dependence. That's the difference. Similarly, the world will be offering you many things, right, wrong, good, bad. That's the world, dvandvas, full of dvandvas. You will be meeting it every single day, every moment of your life. That will not affect you if you are established in the path. We did say yogi is only beginning the journey. A sannyasi is one who's well established in the knowledge. Such a person, he does not get affected internally. He is not affected with external differences. O Mahabaho, such a person is easily set free from bondage, from that dependence on the world.
Sankhya yoga prithak balaha pravadanti na panditaha ekamapyastita samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. Sankhya yoga prithak balaha pravadanti na panditaha ekamapyasthita samyak ubhayor vindate phalam.
Children, not the wise, speak of Sankhya and Yoga as different. He who is duly established in one obtains the fruit of both. So all he's saying here, now he's using a new word here, Sankhya. Because you must remember, it has been used earlier in the text. But Sankhya refers to knowledge. The second chapter is Sankhya Yoga. And knowledge and wisdom are associated with the state of sannyasa. Remember we said the yogi is the one who just started the journey. A sannyasi is one who is well established in knowledge and wisdom. Is mature. That's the state of a sannyasi. So they just used a different word. He just used a different word to mean the same thing. Sannyasa, Sankhya. They both mean the same thing. So Sankhya or sannyasa and yoga are not different. Now, incidentally, the word yoga, for those who are hearing it for the first time, in this context, intellectual context, yoga is derived from a Sanskrit word, yuj. Yuj means to join, to unite. So when we say you need to join, you need to unite, the implication is you have separated. Now, what have we separated from? What do we need to get back to? The truth is, we have separated from our original state of peace, bliss, enlightenment. We have separated from that. We have assumed a conditioned state. The person you are, the individual, you believe, this is me. Who? This height, this weight, male, female, young, old, whatever you describe yourself as. You believe so firmly. This is me. This is me. This name, this family, this background. All the descriptions about you is not the real you. If you will have to boil it down to something very simple, every human being, without exception, is made up of three equipments. You have a physical body. I see your body. You see my body. It's just an external aspect of your personality. The body is like a vehicle that's taking you from place to place. That is not you. There is something within you, which is your inner personality, constituted of your mind and your intellect. Your feelings, you have a whole lot of feelings, emotions, likes, dislikes, wishes, wants, desires. All that put together is your manas, mind, part of your inner personality. And then you have another faculty of reason, of thinking, of understanding, which you're trying to use right now, the buddhi, intellect. So together, the mind and intellect constitute your inner personality. So you've seen the physical body, which is your outer personality, the mind and intellect, which is your inner personality. But you've got to ask that question, how is the body functioning? This body has life. From where does the body get life? Your mind feels, no doubt. What is enabling your mind to feel? Your intellect thinks, rightly or wrongly. It's thinking. What enables your intellect to think? So you only know of these three aspects. That you have a body, mind, and intellect is not difficult to understand. That's not your real personality. This is just your outer and inner personalities. But the question here is, what is your real personality? That which enlivens your body, mind, and intellect. That is your real personality. And the synonyms for the real personality is Atman, Sanskrit, Brahman, Sanskrit, God in English, God principle, the self in you, whatever word you want to use, the truth, the reality. These are all synonyms that indicate there is something beyond, within you. That is your real personality. So every attempt you make to seek that truth which is within you is called yoga in Sanskrit, religion in English. The word religion is taken from two Latin terms, which means to join, to unite, re-ligare. So whether you use the English word religion or the Sanskrit word yoga, if a person makes an attempt to get back to the original state, that is yoga. Now, what we understand in the world as yoga is breathing techniques and yoga asanas. That deals only with the physical body. Just because you have a perfect body doesn't mean you have a perfect mind. Your mind could be highly agitated. The thing is, you won't know. Nobody will know. Only you know it. You cannot, another person cannot judge whether you're peaceful. Only you know. That's why Shakespeare says, to thine own self be true. Be true to your own self. Hold a mirror, not outside. That's a waste of time. You try your best to change your outer personality. It doesn't help. You got to put that mirror within. What sort of a person am I? Do I have hatred? Do I have anger? Do I have jealousy, greed? These are all negative emotions that create agitations in the mind. You got to look at that. You don't worry about the positive qualities. They take care of you. But watch out for the negative. It's like a blemish. When you look in the mirror and you see a blemish, how quickly you remove it. There is so much. These negative thoughts is nothing but blemish of the inner personality. So when you set your life to remove these blemishes, that will take you to your real personality, yoga. So he says Sankhya and yoga. Sankhya is a state where you're well established. Yoga is a state where you're just getting into that process. So they're not different. One who's duly established in one will obtain the fruit of both, meaning you are moving in the right direction. So you have a choice. We've already said that. You have a choice. You could evolve to highest heights, or being at a high stage of development, you could throw it all away. The choice is yours. The person could be fairly evolved, but if he falls for a small temptation, something silly, something stupid, you can ruin your your career. You can ruin your life. Robert Browning says the world is full of temptations. There'll be 10 things to bring you down. Destruction is so simple. Construction is so difficult. To destroy, how long does it take? Just one silly move, one stupid action, one wrong word. Finished. So he says, Robert Browning, why come temptation but for man to meet and master and make crouch beneath his feet and so be pedestaled in triumph? These temptations come only for you to meet and master, not become a slave, not lose yourself. So the world is full of temptations. You don't have to fall a prey. You're not helpless. You're a human. It's an animal that's helpless. See, if a tiger does not have flesh, meat to eat, it will die. It can't switch to grass eating. If a cow does not have grass, fodder, it cannot say, all right, today I'll have non-vegetarian food. Cannot. It will die. That is the limitation of every other creature. A fish cannot fly, a bird cannot swim, but man can do both. This is the capacity of a human being. And yet we behave more helpless, not like animals, like plants. Sometimes like stone. Somebody has to lift us and take us. Otherwise you're sitting there helpless, help me, and others are fed up with you. You make a nuisance of yourself. Why? Simply because you don't learn this art, this technique. Pick up the knowledge, and to the extent you pick up, you will be more blissful, you will be more peaceful, you will be more successful, dynamic, efficient in life. So he says, children, meaning foolish people who don't know the knowledge, not the wise, speak of Sankhya and Yoga different. He who is duly established in one obtains the fruit of the other.
Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति यत् सांख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
That state which is to be reached by the Sankhyas is reached by the yogis also. He who sees Sankhya and Yoga as one, he sees. He sees means he understands. He understands the truth. A very famous way of putting it, ya pashyati sa pashyati. If you understand it, you understand it. What? Yoga and Sankhya, they are not different. He's only emphasizing on the fact that the difference is a person who is attracted, enamored, entangled, lost in this world of things and beings, and a person who is still in this world of things and beings but has a clear understanding there is something higher and that he must achieve it. Make every attempt to get there. You may or may not achieve it, but you must set that path. You got to imagine this. Imagine there is a graph of human development. At 0, a person, a human, is not at all developed. Physically, he's nothing. Materially, he's nothing. Waster, dependent on society, does not do anything for himself, materially. Physically, not taking care of himself. A total mess physically. He's got all the ailments possible, and every disease, all sorts of problems at the physical body. Mentally, highly agitated, highly strung, stressed, worried, anxious, full of negative thoughts. You got to imagine the worst of things. As they say, all the genetic garbage he's got. One end. And intellectually, he cannot think for himself. There's no question of talking about his spiritual status. So let's put that person at 0 point. You can hardly call him a human. There are no such people really, but theoretically speaking, let's put that person at 0%. Not at all developed, not worthy of being called a human. 0. And then at 100, you have the perfect human, an enlightened soul, a God-realized person, a prophet, a master. At 100. Who is he? What is he? We're not discussing it. In fact, in the second chapter, the end portion, he talks about this perfect state in a human being. Sthita prajna. Who is a sthita prajna? Person who is well established in wisdom. That is described. Let's assume that is a state of perfection. There is a state of human perfection, and every human is heir to that state, provided you seek it. And what's more, every human is striving to get there, wants to get there, but does not know how to. I'll explain what I mean. Anyway, from 0 to 100, this is the graph of human development. Now, what you must understand is all of us are somewhere on that graph. Where are you? You may not know. So, maybe at 20%. How do you gauge yourself? What am I materially? What am I physically? What am I emotionally? What am I intellectually? What are my interests in the truth? Whatever you are, it's not difficult, but you can find out. So let's put a placement. So each one can find a place on that graph. 30, 40, 50%, even 60, 70%, maybe. Now, at the moment, you are somewhere on the graph. But what they're saying here is, no matter where you are on that graph, what is important is, this lifetime, which way are you going? Do you know? Are you conscious? You could be at 60 going downward. You could be at 20 striving to move upward. That is the choice every human has. So if you know how to make the right choices, every day, every moment, you are putting an effort to move towards that 100th mark. And we did say, every human wants to go to that 100th mark. That's why I asked the question, what does everybody want? Happiness, peace, bliss. That's what everybody wants. Nobody wants unhappiness. It's something like this. Nobody will turn around and say, I have a big problem. What is the problem? I'm excessively happy. That will never be a problem. See, you can be happy, you can be happier, you can be happiest. And how do you feel? Just normal. But put it the other way. If you are unhappy, what is happening? You can't take unhappiness beyond a point. You go into a depression, or it hits your heart or head. Something happens to you if it's the other way around. Any negative emotion, you cannot take it beyond a point. Why? That is not your natural state. You will be only comfortable when you are moving towards your natural state. I've given this example many times. We always use it because this is a classic example that will help us understand this concept. I did say, everyone is moving consciously or unconsciously, wants to get back to that original state. So I'm giving this example. Some of you can help me answer the question. Those who have heard it, please just keep quiet. You can nod your head, but don't answer, okay? Imagine a coil spring. Imagine a coil spring, 4 feet high. Are you with me? The coil spring, 4 feet high, you understand that? If I compress it to 1 foot, what do you think will happen to my palm? Anybody? There is a lot of pressure on my palm, urging it which way? Upward. So I release it to 2 feet. What happens now? Huh? Pressure is less? We all agree? Pressure is less. I release it to 3 feet. Still less pressure. Now I release it to 4 feet. What happens at 4 feet? No pressure. Why is there no pressure at 4 feet? Why? Because it has reached its original state. Simple example. Coil spring, 4 feet high, compress it to 1 foot, tremendous pressure. Urging it which way? Only one way, not downward, upward. Natural. Release it to 2 feet, less pressure. Release it to 3 feet, still less pressure. Release it to 4 feet, no pressure. Why? Because it has reached its original state. Now friends, please look at our own lives, your own lives. Everybody is going through pressures. Some stress, some strain, some worry, some anxiety, some problem, pressure. Now with this example, you can at least project why it is so. If anyone is going through pressures, it is not because of the neighbor, it is not because of your business, it's not about your commitments, it's not about your action, it's not about the world, it is because you are not in your original state. And if you don't make this attempt to get back to your original state, you can be in heaven, you can be next to Rama and Krishna or Christ or Muhammad, and you will have problems. Because the problems are not external, it is internal. So that is why it is important for us to set this path to our own original state. And the more you move on that path, in and through your obligations in life, you will find that peace that you're seeking, and you will have everything that you want in life. That is why in this country, it is only in this country, we had Raja Rishis. Rajas, kings who were sages. Raja, Rishi means king, sages. Today, king is one side, sage is another side. Only in this country, because we had this knowledge, we lived this knowledge. For whatever reason, we have not associated with this knowledge at all. And that is why this is an opportunity for us to reconnect, regain what we have lost. It is meant for every human. So he says that state that we're talking about is reached by Sankhya, that is reached by Sankhyas, is reached by the yogis also. They're all on the same path, from 0 to 100. So yogis maybe 20, 30%, Sankhyas are going 50, 60%, but do not stop till you hit the 100th mark. The choice is, even if you're high up there, if you don't make the right choices, it's a question of time you can come down. So you cannot rest content until you get back to your original state. He who sees, ya pashyati, sa pashyati.
Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptumayogatah yoga yukto munir brahma nachirenadhigacchati. Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptumayogatah yoga yukto munir brahma nachirenadhigacchati.
But renunciation, or Mahabaho, is hard to attain without yoga, without action. A sage well established in yoga attains Brahman ere long, nachirena. So you got to be established in yoga, and then you develop sannyasa. You can't short circuit. Let me go straight to sannyas. Just by changing your attire or changing your address, running away to some far off place, doesn't mean you attained sannyasa. The question is, what is going on in your mind? And who knows it? See, you can impress the whole world. The whole world will buy it if you just change your address and attire. But you've got to be honest to yourself. You know what is running in your mind. What are your values? So this whole state of sannyas is not for display, is not for advertisement. It is to find your place on that path to discover your real self. So he says, this state of renunciation, you cannot, when he says hard to attain, okay, I will find a via media and attain it. What he means is, you cannot attain. You cannot attain this state without performing your duties and obligations, without acting in this world with the right spirit. It's not possible. So you've got to start from where you are. There's no choice here. And if you think you can short circuit and get to the highest, you're only cheating yourself. So if you are well established in yoga, in right action, yoga in the context, I've already told you, is the path to the truth. If you're well established, then it's a question of time. It's not difficult to achieve the highest. So the sage Narada, whatever he's known for his mischief. He was walking around in the Himalayas, just walking around. He saw two sages, Sage A and Sage B. Both were in meditation. So he wanted to have some fun. He went up, Sage A was a genuine sage. He went through this action and reached the state of renunciation, and he was meditating. You know, we said you have to qualify to meditate. He went through the right path. Sage B picked up sannyas. You spend some time with a master and you get diksha, you can change your attire, change your name, change everything except yourself. And you can be called a sannyasi. It's possible. I mean, we are not criticizing, we are only saying this is happening around. So that was Sage B. He is also sitting in the Himalayas with meditating. So Narada, when he was passing by, Sage A saw Narada and worshipped him and say, what a great opportunity, we got your darshan, really lucky today. Where the sage is going? I'm going to Vaikunta to check all the records. Oh, it's a great thing. So I can find out anything for you. You can find out, how long you're going to take to realize. whatever you say. He never asked. Narada offered it. So he said, all right, I'll check the records and come back and tell you. And then he saw Sage B. Sage B actually saw Narada coming because he was pretending to meditate. One eye was open. And he saw him. Narada, please, a great sage has come. He also prostrated. He asked, can you find out something for me? What is it that you want to find out? How long will it take for me to realize? I am dying to know that. No problem. I'm going to Vaikuntha. I'll find out and come back. Tell you. So he simply took one chakkar and came back. He didn't go to Vaikuntha, no place. Came back. Sage A, he met, who never asked, but he said, I'll tell you. He says, you know what? I checked the records. Bad news. What, master? What is the bad news? You know, this tamarind tree, do you see? You know, a tamarind tree has small leaves. Have you seen a tamarind tree? Because anything I say, you're looking straight at my face. I don't know if you're listening or not. Tamarind tree has very tiny leaves. Tiny leaves. So he said, you see this tamarind tree? Count the number of leaves. That many janmas you have to realize. He was realizing that janma. He was a genuine person. But Narada twisted it and said, that many janmas you will take to realize the self. Sage A said, how can you call it bad news? It's the best news you're giving me. He prostrated. He said, why? Because I thought aneka janma. Now it is a finite number. It is your grace, your grace. He was realizing that janma. That was Sage A. Sage B, our friend. You are sitting there. What happened, Maharaj? What happened, Maharaj? Good news for you. What is the good news? You are realizing this janma. So thank God you told me. He packed up his bags and came back to the world to enjoy it. Huh? You can't reach that state of renunciation without performing right actions. Not possible. You have a value for the world. Internally. Externally, you're showing that act of sannyasa. That will not work. So he says, renunciation is hard to attain without yoga. But once you're established, it is a question of time, like Sage A, you will reach the highest.
Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate.
So in this verse, he talks about the enlightened person. So if you see, if you have followed the flow of thought, I did say in the first 7 verses, he talks about yogi, sannyasi, jnani. So he talked about yogi earlier. Then we talked about the state of sannyasa, which you cannot achieve without going through that state of yogi. And now he has reached the ultimate state of a jnani. Jnani means an enlightened soul. So he who is united by yoga, so it all starts with yoga. Yoga in the context does not mean yoga asanas or breathing techniques. I've already explained that. It means action, performing your duties and obligations, whatever they be. And performing right actions. That was given out in the 3rd chapter, the technique of action. Assuming you have heard all that, you're following all that, we are in the 5th chapter now. So, united by yoga, performing right actions, who has purified and conquered the self within, inner personality, subdued his senses at the physical level, who realizes his self as the self in all beings. That you see in capitals. S is in capital. That means the truth, the reality, your real personality beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect, which is your real personality. So he sees this self as the self in all beings, is not tainted though acting. Although he is acting in the world, he is not influenced, affected by these actions. See, when a person who does not have this jnana acts in the world, you are only picking up more desires. That is taint. Meaning, when you act in this world, you are fulfilling desires. Why are you acting? Because you want to achieve something. You want to fulfill your desires. Nothing wrong with that. So while you do that, while you fulfill your desires, you are picking up more desires. And when you pick up more desires, you need to fulfill the new desires. And this is never ending. It's like feeding fire. You add logs and logs of wood into fire, it will consume and ask for more. It's ready for more. It's ready for more. And you go on feeding, it will go on consuming. It will never stop. No sample of fire will say, I've had enough, thank you, give it to me tomorrow. No, it will go on consuming. It will not stop. That is your mind. That is desire. So in philosophical terms, it means there's a taint. Taint means you are entangled. You are developing more desires, more vasanas, and you will have to live in this world to fulfill these desires. That's all you're doing. And it's not as if you have lived a full life, you've reached old age, that doesn't mean you found satisfaction. In fact, old age is more frustrating because the desires multiply, the body is unable to satisfy. At least when you're young, you have the ability to satisfy. Some of them, if not all. So every human being passing away is passing away with a lot of unfulfilled desires. And he seeks the next janma to start fulfilling the desires. So he gets an opportunity to fulfill those desires. But what does he do the whole life? He's fulfilling those desires and picking up more. And that's why Shankara says, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Again and again you're going through this cycle of birth and death and birth and death. Nobody's stopping to ask, what is the meaning of this? Why am I going through this? Should I be going through this? That is why we've got to stop and take stock. So here is a person, yoga yuktaha. He describes the state, yoga yuktaha, who has transcended the limitations of the body, mind and intellect and is united by yoga to the self. Vishuddhatma is free of desires, free of vasanas. Vijitatma, the mind and intellect are conquered. You're not going to be slave to the demands of your mind and intellect. Jitendriyaha, the body is under control, the senses are under control. You may have control over sight, but you may not have control over tongue. You give weakness for tongue. Or you can be disciplined with your tongue, but you want to hear gossip. What is going on there? What is that person saying? What is this person saying? You've got a weakness for ears. So some weakness you may have. He says all the senses are under control. Meaning whatever you do, whether you are seeing or hearing or smelling or tasting or touching or whatever you do, has a purpose. So that whole personality is under control. And this is the way. It not only gives the state, it gives the way, the same thing you have to do to reach the higher state. And what is the test? How do you know you're on the right path? The test is Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. You see the same self in one and all. You can't say then, I love everyone because I see divinity everywhere except my mother-in-law. That one is a different species. It's not a human being. Different species. Everybody else I love. But that lady, she annoys me. See, I don't even say anything. She comes and makes trouble. How can there be divinity in that person? You know, in the worst of sinners, in the best of saints, it's the same self. You must be able to x-ray through the personality and see the truth. Then you're on the right path. So with this, we conclude the first topic. We continue tomorrow. Thank you very much.